guys, my name's Carolyn and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do the reading habits tag. I haven't actually been tagged by anybody, but I really like the questions, so I thought I'm going to do it anyway because that's how I roll. But I will be tagging 3 people at the end of the video. As usual, I've got my iPad so I can look at the questions. And the first question is, do you have a certain place at home to read? I think I'm probably like most readers in the fact that I read in bed. It's not my main place that I read. I do read in my lounge a lot. I've got a huge sofa. I will see if I can insert a picture here. And basically it's really big, really comfy, and I just can lounge on that and read my books. I would say the other place I read a lot is in the bath. I always have, ever since I was a young girl. I used to sort of let the water out and top it up, let the water out and then top it up. And I know that's not environmentally friendly, it's a waste of water. I will say I don't do that as much now, which is good for the environment, but I've always loved it, and I can just sink in the bath and it's all nice and warm and I can get a lot of reading done that way. So I would say my bed, my sofa and the bath are my main reading places. If it's a warm day, not too hot, but if it's a nice day, I will go and read in the garden, but it's the UK, so the majority of reading is done indoors. So the next question is, bookmark or random piece of paper? I love bookmarks. I have a huge collection of bookmarks and I try and use bookmarks at every opportunity. I am not adverse, however, to using a scrap bit of paper or a receipt if that is all that is at hand. I will try and never to dog-ear my pages. I used to when I was younger. I mean, people do it, it doesn't really bother me, but I would prefer not to do that to my copies, as I try and keep them as in pristine condition as I can. The type of bookmarks that I like have changed over the years. I used to like just, you know, the ordinary type of bookmarks, such as these kind of bookmarks, which I love, and I have a really big collection of these as well. But I have come to really love the magnetic bookmarks, and I get all of these from Waterstones, and these are tiny little clip-on bookmarks that are magnetic. They just sort of clip on the page, and then a magnetic bit inside just sort of keeps it there. I don't know why I love these, but they come in all sort of different patterns and they come in different sizes. I have larger ones as well as these tiny little ones, and I've also got some other ones which are completely magnetic as well, which have little kittens on the front. And I just love these type of bookmarks, and these are probably the ones I use the most. So the third question, can you stop reading at any place, or do you have to stop after a chapter or a number of pages? I prefer at the end of a chapter. I will strive to get to the end of a chapter. I really don't like stopping just in the middle of a chapter. I don't like to be random where I stop. I do like to get to the end of a chapter. It's just, it feels a completion. It feels the best place to stop and also the nicest place to start. And so yeah, I will always strive to end a chapter before putting my book down. Question 4, do you eat or drink while you're reading? It varies. I would say sometimes I don't like eating or drinking at all. I can take it or leave it really, but if I do have something that I want to snack on, it will usually be chocolate, wine gums or something like that, or crisps. Drinks wise, it would probably be coffee or water. I would say that is the majority of my fluids. I drink around 2.5 litres a day, and I have about 2 coffees a day. That is not rigid. Sometimes I only end up having 1 coffee, sometimes it'll be 3 coffees, but the action of making a coffee, sitting down on my sofa with my book, it just feels so cozy. So yeah, I do like having a coffee when I'm reading. So on to question 5. Do you watch TV or listen to music while reading? This is something that has changed for me over the years. When I was younger, I could read through anything. I could have the telly on, I could have music blaring in my ears with my earphones, or just generally in the house. People could be talking, chatting, whatever, anything really in the background, and it wouldn't bother me, it wouldn't interrupt my reading at all. As I got older, however, I do find that I prefer complete silence. If there is a television on, or if people are talking, I can still read, it's just that my mind goes off sometimes. I don't get as absorbed in the book. I find that it does interrupt my flow of reading, because sometimes I just end up listening to the conversation or listening to what's on the telly. But having external noise in my sort of environment won't stop me from reading, but it does interrupt my reading a lot more than it used to. So yeah, complete silence for me. So question number 6, one book at a time or several at once? I'm not monogamous with my books. I can read several at once. It really doesn't bother me. I usually have a physical book on the go, a Kindle book on the go, and an audio book on the go. Question 7, reading at home or everywhere? I generally read at home, but I will read anywhere. But I generally read at home because it's comfortable. I love my different places where I read. I can just curl up, I can have my coffee, and it's just a really comfortable place for me to read my book. However, I can and will read anywhere. If I'm on holiday, I will read quite a lot. If I'm out and about, I don't often take a physical book with me, but I always have my iPhone, so if I find myself waiting around, if it's like a waiting room, if I'm at the doctor's or something like that, I can always get out and read on my Kindle app. So I can read anywhere, but I do prefer reading at home. Question 8, reading out loud or silently in your head? I find this a really weird question, because honestly, who reads out loud? I mean, I find that really bizarre. I mean, if you do, please let me know in the comments, because I'd love to know, because I don't know anybody that would sit there with a book on their own and just sit there reading out loud to themselves. I find that quite a strange question. So for me, no, I read in my head. The only time I would ever consider reading out loud is if I'm actually reading to somebody. I don't really think reading out loud to myself is, yes. And number 9, do you ever read ahead or skip pages? Okay. I have been known to skip pages if I'm not liking a book, and that is an indication to me that maybe I just need to give up and put the book down. I never used to put books down if I was in the middle of reading them. I was always so resolute to get to the end of a book, but now, as I've got older, I can't be bothered. You know, I give the book about 100 pages, and if I don't like it or if I can't get on with it, and I just put it down and it goes to the charity shop, because there's so many books. I have got so many books to read that I now realise struggling and slogging on with a book is just pointless. So if I'm skipping lots of pages, then that is an indication that I should stop reading and just go and move on to something else. As for skipping ahead to the end, I have done this, and I have spoilt things for myself in books by doing this. And because of that, I have reduced the amount of times I do that. I still find myself doing it out of habit. I will go to the back and I will start reading and I'll go, no, Carolyn, stop it, because it will just ruin the book for you. So I'll go, okay, and I'll go back to where I was in the book. I have to force myself not to look at how the book will end. I don't like doing it. I don't want to ruin the book for myself. It's just sometimes I just get drawn to the back of the book. So I am better than I used to be, but when I do find myself doing it, I have to tell myself off. And yeah, not a good idea, people. You can really ruin a lot of really good books that way. And the last question, number 10, breaking the spine or keeping it like new? Well, I think most of us readers love books that are pristine. When you get a new book, it's amazing. Now, sometimes you can keep that beautiful cover and spine and pages and everything looking new. It depends on how the book is made in many ways. Sometimes they're quite floppy and they can open up quite well, and you don't like break the spines at all. But there are some books that are very rigid, and as you get to the middle and you're trying to read the book, sometimes it's inevitable and you end up slightly cracking the spine, or at least putting creases down the spine. So although I do try to keep my books in really good condition, sometimes it's just not possible, and I don't beat myself up over it. It's just one of those things. And I have collected many charity books and books I've bought from boot sales and secondhand bookshops, and they are some of my most prized possessions. So I don't think it's a bad thing to have old books, but I do try and keep any new books that I buy, I do try and keep them in as good a condition as I possibly can. So that's it for the reading habits tag. I'm going to tag 3 people, and the first one is Helene Jefferson, the second one is Sarah Jane from The Book Life, and the third one is Claire from The Book Fox. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up as usual, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you again in my next video. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.